Hello everyone, welcome to Noble Creative Tutorials, and today I will show you how to create digital data matrix animations in Adobe After Effects using Stardust. So create a composition and let's get started. So after create a composition, and as you see here on my comp, I have Stardust applied to this layer in the background and a few comps here. So the first one here, I just have text layer, just numbers here to use as textures, using these expressions to create these from 0 to 9. So we can create any characters you want to use as textures. And right here I have these fractal maps. So basically you can just use fractal noise to create these fractal map, or you can generate that. We already covered how you can generate these maps in previous tutorial. And right here I have a logo map, just a logo and a background here, black one in these elements here. So on Stardust here I have emitter and particle node. So on emitter node I want to create grid, so I'm going to choose grid and emitting once and zero out the speed. And we need more life on particles, so let's give that 10 seconds here. And on emitter, we have size here, going to make these our comp size on X and Y. And basically here we have grid properties, so let's crank these up to 170, and we don't need any Z, so we're just going to put that to 1. So we just need 1 here. And on particle here, we're going to use that texture number. So let's switch to textures. And right here we got texture to choose. So we're going to assign numbers here. And default, going to change that to alpha. So you can see here, we got the numbers. And we want to use these random loop or ones, depending on what you would like to have. So now we have these, basically they are animating these numbers, as you can see, looping randomly there. And so on size, I'm going to make these 15 here, a little bit bigger, as you can see. So I just have, I think, 50 by 50 here on the comp size of these comps. So we got these. And so the idea now, we want to just have a random look on these grids. So I'm going to add a field node here and connect these. And by default, the field type is sphere. I'm going to choose maps and then type layer and choose my layer. And that's a fractal map I'm going to use in this node here. So we got these, and basically nothing happened because we need to choose what effects and projection need to be sitting right. So because we are choosing here opacity, we need to project that on X and Y. So now we are going to get these nice variation according to our map here. So you can see basically they look the same using grayscale to get these nice opacity look. So I'm going to Control D to duplicate the node here and just connect that. And by the way, when you duplicate that, you can see we just add more opacity fill to these. So you can actually control that on the amount here for one of these. But the second one, instead of opacity, I'm going for size. And you can see the size a little bit changed, so I'm going to make it obvious. Here we have affected properties, we have size, and if we make these big, you can see now the variation is dependent on black and white of the fractal map. So you can see the white areas are bigger and the black one are less. So you get the idea. So now I'm just going to keep that 100, and if we disable that, you can see the effect here. We're already getting rid of these ones here, and it also affects a little bit the other variations here. So now I'm going to add a replica node because I want to replicate this grid, and I'm going to use here linear and add more replicates, just 10, offset that on the Z by 200, and you can see what we got now. And I'm going to use scale that as well, 150 on X and Y. And we are going to get something like this. So let's disable this so you can see the difference here. And so for now, let's create a new camera here. And just create this orbit. We want to animate position here. So let's create keyframe and set that around 7 seconds here. And for this one, maybe 1000 here. So the animation is going to look something like this. Maybe we can push this back a little bit more. Okay, so now we got something like this. Nothing fancy yet. So now what I'm going to do here, first, I want to change the color here on the replica. So I'm going along path and set these to green, create it here. And color mix, going to set that to 0. So we get our green gradient there. So you can see now the colors. Okay, so to make this even look much better, I'm going to add another fill node here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to keep it as sphere. And on these fill property, we are going to intake enclose. So we're going to get some kind of spherical look right there, as you can see. And so what I'm going to do here, we have affected overlife and presets. I'm going to choose this fade out preset here. And I want that to just end on the middle here. So you can see life, I want that just at 50%. Let's keep that very smooth there. We can play with this a little bit here. So we have the effect. So around the half of these comp, the fill is just going to fade out and going to get a grid look. But at the beginning, we're going to have kind of spherical look here. So what I'm going to do here, just adding turbulence node here. And I'm just going to push this position by 200. And we're already going to get some variation there. But I don't want to keep that on the whole comp here. And so what I'm going to do here, just copy these graph here and just paste it here on turbulence over life. And maybe we want that to just end around 44 right there. So at the beginning, we're going to have some turbulent look, and then things will start getting into place as a grid. For now, it looks fine just how we want it, and when we start stylizing these, the effects will start looking much better, and if we need any adjustment, we are going to do that. So now, I'm going to duplicate these nodes here, and basically, let's just disable the first one. The second one, we want the element we want to project on this grid. So I'm going to keep all of these except these fill nodes here. So on fill nodes, on maps, I'm going to switch to the logo map here. And basically you can't see that much right there. So let's just disable these so we can see what we are doing here. Okay, so now you get the idea here. We got our logo or our element there. So what I want to do here is crank up these grid properties so it's more dense and we have more details there. So just going to put these to 200 and 140 here. So now we have more details right there, which is pretty cool. So if we enable here the field, which is the size this time, you can basically just change here actually the size, and because we are using the map, we are getting some noise variation there depending on the map we are using. So we can just switch to logo here so we have the exact same map. And the idea here, we just want to make these elements a little bit bigger so we can separate the elements from the background. So of course you can keep the fractal map, which is going to get a very nice variation. So I'm just giving you a basic idea, but you can build up things to make it look very interesting. And with replica node here enabled, we're going to get our duplicates here, but we need to create a nice variation to this. So what we're going to do here is just add more replicates here and offset that by 500. So you can see what we got there. And basically what I'm going to do here is randomize here offset textures. I want to do that for both, also the grid. So we need to make sure we need that. Just so we're randomize the duplicates texture. We don't want to be the same replicate numbers or textures. So for this one now, we're going to actually the size here, along path, and just fade that right there. So you can see what we got there. And basically we have properties here for random properties, which is going to give us a really nice look. So I want to randomize here the replicate numbers by 10, position by maybe 90, and scale by 50. So you can see now how the looks look when we randomize this, which is pretty cool. So if we enable now the grid, we're going to get our elements right here, which is pretty cool. So let's enable fill and turbulence here to get this nice look. So let's preview this and see how it looks like. So as you can see, the animation look pretty cool, but we need to do a few tweaks to make it look even better. So let's start doing that. We can just easy ease this last keyframe here. And let's just put it at the end. We want to have this nice animation here. At the end, still like going on the Z position. And we want to go right here to the field, and we want to animate these, maybe not the opacity, but the size here. At the beginning, we want to have a little bit more size, less affected, so we can see a little bit around the dark areas. So we can basically have that around 70 and keyframe that. Set a keyframe here. And we want that start 4 seconds and just getting that to 100%. So we're going to have more of these size of these particles to add a little bit on the background, which is going to give us some really nice look and effects. Another thing here, we can just make this opacity the opposite here of element 1. So you can see we're going to have a little bit of difference on the look, as you can see. So it's just up to you how you can play with that basically. So you can just keep the amount on 100% or so, just so you can get the idea. Another thing here is to just randomize the size of the particles and opacity as well. It's going to do that for both particles node. So you get the idea now. We have really nice variation here. So now let's actually add a little bit of stylize to this. So I'm going to create a new adjustment layer and then just add glow here. Just duplicate this one, Control D, and basically going just to play with these, add some really nice glow effect to these. So the first one is default, and the second one just crank up the radius and half intensity there. And I'm going to add exposure, put that to 2, and Control D, duplicate these. I'm going to rename these blur, and then I'm going to get rid of these exposure here and just keep close right here. And so this one is going to cease here radial fast blur here and going for brightest, going around 90 maybe. So I'm going to add these like nice blur effect to these, and so you can see what's going on when we add that. And then I'm going to add fast box blur here, or actually fractal noise. So we want to have some variation on this. So I'm going for dynamic and spline. So by adding that, we're just going to block some areas to create some variations there. And so basically that's what we got right there. And so now I'm going to animate these evolution time times 50 maybe, just so we can animate that. And putting these to multiply so we can see what we got, some variation there. And the whole thing I'm going to use soft light there. So we're going to have a soft light to compose on top of these. So basically we still need to do a few adjustments, maybe just 2 on complexity, maybe make size a little bit bigger here. Something like that, as you can see. And going to add curves so I can control the highlights there of these radial here. Maybe just crank these to 100 and make sure to keep that on the center, because we're just animating these on the Z animation of these cameras. So we're going to get some really nice kind of volumetric light on these, as you can see. So just turn on these back and off so you can see what's going on there, which is pretty cool. So let's duplicate these, Control D, and this one going to be looks. And then I'm going to remove all these effects here and just add volumetric color here to get some really nice color look here. So I'm going for maybe this matrix blue and going to add noise here. Maybe just 3, and sharpen effects here as well. Let me just put that just right here. So at the moment you can see we got some really cool looking here, but we can always adjust these. So I'm going to basic color here, maybe add some highlights, 100, and also shadows here. And so what I'm going to do here is, I don't want these to be soft light, so I'm going to keep it at normal. You can see what we got now, and I'm going to use Sys Composite here, and basically composing the whole thing and using add just 50% to composite these on top of everything else. So we're going to get some really nice look here, and we can also change here the opacity so we can have control over how these looks. So you get the idea. So I'm just going to keep that 50% here, and you can see here the blur adds some really nice looking, as you can see. So let's just turn off these blurs so you can see what's going on. So you get the idea here with the blur and glow and the noise here. We have some really nice look here. So let's preview and see how this looks like. So as you can see, guys, things look pretty cool. We have a little bit fast animation in beginning, and we can fix that by going to turbulence node and fix the turbulence over life just slightly to start slowing down at the beginning as well. So that's it for this one, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks here. So for example, on this one here, let's preview this one. You can see we have a little bit of what I mean here, and we have a different looking, as you can see, and at the end we have some revealing as well. So the whole idea here, basically, let's just see what we have here. keyframes here. We have a mouse as we set up these before. We have everything is the same. We use opacity and the size right here. So we have two different ones. And basically here we have -100. So basically just the opposite of these element 1. And that's what I mentioned in the tutorial, that you can just have that opacity different and using animation here as well. And we have here two different maps. So just so we can see what's going on here, it's up in these maps here. And you can see the second one here, we have just anywhere of this one and actually animating these to full brightness. So I think I used that on the size maybe here, or maybe on this one, I think, yeah. So here we add another field for the element, and we use that texture to just have some variation basically here on the element itself. We have different size on these textures, as you can see. And for the revealing here, you can see we got just opacity basically for the whole background, and also on particle we have opacity here. We just try to keep around here, I think around 50, 70 on the value, and around 50% or 55 on timeline here. It just getting the background start fading out. And on this one reveal, we just use block dissolve to animate that. And basically we have all these blur effects here and the look and etc. just having these nice reveal looking. So if you want to have a revealing at the end, as you can see. So you can see we have very nice turbulence. Basically it's the same here, same values, just playing with these. So we can have a very nice curve here, which is helping to start the animation very nicely here, as you can see. And basically you can use here these to reveal text as well, just using different elements or even videos if you want to have some revealing to that. So you can see what we got here. Everything is the same setup, just different text map here, just text, as you can see, using that. And the last one here we have image. So you can basically use also image, as I said. You can use videos, just depend how you need to set up these elements to make them look very cool with these effects. So you can see here I have image map. So right here I just have this one, just image, and basically it's I have transparency here and just color here using black and white, and then levels just to get some nice black and white image, and to use that right here. So we have a nice revealing. So we have elements right here. So the map, we have the image assigned here. We also have the one here as well. The image for both, and the last one here we just create that using variation of the fractal map here, just so we can have some really nice animation. Basically replica node is the same, everything is set up the same here, randomizing is the same. So it's same right here, you can get some really nice results, as you can see. You can also keep it just this one here, just 50% opacity. There's no animation on opacity for this one. I disable these animations here for opacity, just if you want to keep the mix just right here, as you can see. So that's it, guys. Hope this tutorial was very useful for you as always, and if you have any questions, just comment and I will do my best to be responsive. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials coming soon, and thank you for watching.